Ben Cowen here. I went and grabbed this guy. I said, hey, dude, I got to talk to you about Bitcoin dominance. I actually wanted to talk to him about his girlfriends in high school, but he said, off the record, but Bitcoin dominance, man.
It's a big topic.
I think it's a very interesting topic. You don't know my views on it, but I want to hear your views first. And then we'll have a little conversation.
Well, the contentious views about Bitcoin dominance, right, is that Bitcoin will continue to reclaim market share.
What's it at right now?
About 56.5.
Okay.
But back in 2022, it hit around 39%.
I remember when you started saying, hey, this is going to change, dominance is going to start, Bitcoin's going to start eating others.
Right. And it's based on the fact that when you have higher interest rates and QT, people flock to the safest asset within each asset class. And with crypto, it's by far Bitcoin is the safest one. And so for me, the argument was, look, guys, 60% is inevitable because we're going to have tighter monetary policy. We got to see a lot of this liquidity go back to the king. And that's one of the things.
Go back to the what?
To the king, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the king in crypto. And that's, it's all about liquidity. So where's that liquidity coming from? And even in 2019, we had a very similar rally by Bitcoin where it went up and so many people thought that every other cryptocurrency was going to follow. And if you think about it, which cryptocurrency has hit new all-time highs this cycle? You got Bitcoin. Ethereum has not. Solana has not, even though they've done well. Cardone has not, Polkadot, Avalanche, they just haven't done it. And it just shows you that liquidity, it just goes to the safest.
Well, Bitcoin has hit its highs. It's not inflation.
Not inflation adjusted, right.
Which, by the way, I think that's bullshit. Okay, you keep moving the goalpost out. I have never in my life heard someone go, well, I own ExxonMobil, and it inflated over 8 years. Right. My return... No one ever says that, except when it comes to Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, but it's not hit the all-time high. So you said it went as low as 36.
38.
38. We're at 54.
56 right now.
56. And your premise is it's about the monetary flow.
Right.
That's the piece I probably disagree with.
Okay. Well, it's one
component. There you go.
It's not the only component. It's one component because there are times, even during looser monetary policy, when Bitcoin dominance also goes up. So it's not just monetary policy, but because we knew the likely monetary policy outlook a couple years ago with inflation, we knew what the Fed was going to have to do. It made it such an easy trade to just basically trade all your altcoins for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and ride that wave and see the issue going back to inflation. A lot of people think in terms of US dollars, right? They think about US dollar valuations. My argument is preserve the Satoshi valuation of your portfolio, right? If you hold Bitcoin, it's perfectly preserved because one Bitcoin is going to equal one Bitcoin from here until eternity. If you hold a basket of 1,000 different altcoins and they're all bleeding against Bitcoin, even if they went up against the US dollar, guess what? You could have held a lower risk asset and had a higher return under most circumstances with these altcoins. And that's the argument about why Bitcoin dominance will continue to reclaim more and more, or will continue to go higher.
I'm going to give you a reason why there's a better reason for your argument.
I would love to hear it. And I
think you're stuck in an old paradigm.
I love getting more reasons.
Get
bullish on dollars.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the reason is this. I have met with maybe 8 major players that everybody knows in the space, and I've asked them one consistent question. When the ETF flows came in, I think the ETF was a big deal, but not the biggest deal. The biggest deal was the first quarter of flows. Right? Not just the flows, but who were the flows. The quality of these players, Bitcoin has never seen. And this money, and I think in 2 or 3 weeks, we're getting ready to see S13s that blow out. We're going to see people that are top of the food chain. I mean, like next level kingdoms. Right? They could literally own countries that are going to be invested in this. And then in Q4, we're going to see even bigger ones. So I don't think they're going into Doge.
Right.
That money what the state of Wisconsin is not going into the. I think the Ethereum ETF was a mistake. Everybody, like, we launch it later. Slow down.
Right.
Slow down.
Let Bitcoin have it this cycle, right?
They're so in a rush to get
Yeah.
So I just think this next money coming in, the dominance of Bitcoin is going to grow. The quality of funding is
Right.
okay, and I'm not selling it. You guys sell it. I'm not selling it.
Right.
Like, this is really going to happen, and you've never seen people like us in it.
Right.
Like, most of the wealth, I'm going to say something I think is really staggering. I think most of the wealth that will ever be made in Bitcoin is getting ready to be made.
Okay.
In literally from 2020 to 2030, there will be more money retained in capital gains income than the prior 50 years.
Would you still say Bitcoin's an asymmetric bet right now?
It's the most risk-adjusted asymmetric bet on the planet. I think the dominance goes into the 70s. I'm so much more bullish than in your. It should be the cat daddy of all cat daddies.
Last cycle, we actually saw Bitcoin dominance go back to 73%. So it's possible. And you know, my argument.
I think the rest of these too is right.
Yeah. Well, you know, my argument back then was not that 60% is where it has to stop. That's the target, right? That's like a realistic target.
Yeah, you're just saying, hey, it's going to start eating.
Yeah.
The altcoins are going to have less impact.
Right. And I've told people many times that 60% is the level that is a realistic target. It could go to 70. It's not impossible. The reason it might be a little harder to go to 70 this cycle as opposed to last cycle is because you have stablecoins in the market. And back in 2019, the stablecoin market cap or the stablecoin dominance was like 0%. Today, it's closer to like 6 or 7%. And so that eats into the market share that back then would have just been in US dollars, right?
You could easily back out that stablecoin and say, hey, that's just a form of cash.
Right. And so you can calculate Bitcoin dominance excluding stables.
Yeah.
You do that, guess what it's at? It's already at 60. Yeah, it's already at 60. So I think dominance excluding stables is likely going to at least 64, 65.
Well, and is the metric of stable is really easy valid because, like, why don't you put Coinbase in there? These are alternatives to crypto, right? Like, they really, I mean, I own Node 40. Stick that in there. It's a derivative of Bitcoin, right? Kraken's worth something, right? So, I can buy all these things. I mean, it's not.
I think there's another way to think about it.
Is MicroStrategy an outcome?
Right, yeah.
Right?
But, I think there's a better way to think about dominance.
If MicroStrategy is an altcoin, I'm pretty sure that's going to help BTC dominance.
Right, yeah, no, it's true.
Right?
Yeah. But I was thinking about, I just went to Sailor's talk, and he was showing this chart where it showed, the market cap of basically everything, right? You have equities, you got real estate, you got gold, you have Bitcoin. I wonder if, and this kind of goes back to your point somewhat, I almost wonder if it's time to start thinking about Bitcoin dominance in a different way. Not with respect to Bitcoin's market cap against the altcoin market, but with respect to Bitcoin's market cap against everything. So that might be the real Bitcoin dominance.
Other market caps.
Right.
That is the way I look at it. Like, okay, how big is Google?
Right.
How big is NVIDIA? I do think you need to look at these slices. Right. And it's just going to keep eating up.
Right. Well, I mean, gold's market cap is 16 trillion right now, I believe. Something like that.
13.
Yeah, whatever.
Half of it's real.
Right. But you got Bitcoin, what is like 1 trillion, 1.3. Yeah. So in that sense, if you think about Bitcoin dominance, there's a lot more upside in terms of taking more market cap from all these other, or market share from all these other asset classes.
What if I were to tell you, I think that last comment about taking market share, what if? Let's play a game with me. So I've heard this for 3 years. Okay, the bonds are going to come into Bitcoin, the equities are going to come into Bitcoin, the cash is going to come in, the real estate's going to come into Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, maybe it does. But what if it didn't? What if the distributions from all those assets, instead of recycling back into that asset class, the distributions for that went into Bitcoin? I don't think you need The cool thing about Bitcoin, no one needs to lose.
Yeah.
For Bitcoin to do great, I don't think the bond market has to get
Right.
right. So this thing we do, someone has to lose. What if bonds stay exact? I can build a case for $10 to $15 trillion of BTC market cap without the bond market changing whatsoever or the real estate market.
Well, and you know why? They're never going to stop printing money.
Well, and I think they're sitting on a lot of distribution.
Right.
Like I get paid distributions from real estate every month. There's private equity. There's more billionaires made from selling companies. That money's going to go somewhere.
Right. It's
not going to keep spending in NVIDIA.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. No, you're right.
So it's a new window for an investor. There's so much money that's not in this. There are families that need to manage $8 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to go, hey, I need to place $800 million.
Well, I think with the spot ETFs, I think one of the, and I heard you were doing a talk earlier with Aaron and Austin from One Point Daily, and one of the things I heard you talking about was that basically everyone underestimated the flows into the spot ETF.
Every expert.
And I was talking to some people. I think for a lot of people that have been in crypto for a long time, it was natural to think, hey, if you're not in Bitcoin, if you weren't in Bitcoin already, like why would the spot ETF bring you? I think that's how a lot of us thought, right? But then I started talking to more and more people, and what I realized was that there's a lot of people out there that's the instrument they can actually, that's the way they get access to the asset class, right? And there's also a lot of people that don't necessarily want the responsibility of figuring out all the on-chain stuff and all that stuff. And of course, the deeper pockets, the institutions and stuff, they need solutions to help them manage that, right? We've seen what happens, when the industry goes too quickly with FTX. We've seen what happens. Sometimes it's okay to go slower and slowly build out. And I think I hope that's what we're doing now. I really do. And I think the spot ETFs really surprised a lot of people. I think because a lot of, and especially including me, I think we underestimated how much money there was that wanted exposure, but did not have the appropriate instrument to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it makes sense to me that you would miss it. Right. The guys that do what you do.
Right.
It is staggering to me that Fidelity, BlackRock, Anthony Scaramucci, Dan, everybody's.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, who got it right?
No one. We're off by 3x. Like, it's such a miss that it's really like, nobody understands it. No one understands it. This thing hasn't even started to sell. Yeah. Like, they don't have the marketing materials.
Right. I mean, no, it's really interesting. And again, I even track with flows, and I've seen them cool off a couple times this year, and then you give it a few more weeks, they just pick right back up.
Look, you know what it is? It went.
Yeah.
Typical S code. That's what happens. This thing's going to start exploding. That first wedge, and this next wedge, I think in Q3, I think we're going to start finding out in 2 weeks. The S13s are rolling out. I think we're going to be shot.
Q4. Yeah. Well, in Q4, in terms of seasonality, Q4 is usually more favorable for Bitcoin too, over the rest of the market. And so I think I really do think you have the stars aligning, going back to the Bitcoin dominant stuff, for what's going to send it higher. And you're already at 56.5. 60% can happen like that. I mean, it doesn't take a lot.
Nope.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And I think one of the things too with the launch of the spot ETF for Ethereum, I think a lot of people thought that was going to eat into dominance, but it hasn't. And the issue I think for ETH right now is that yes, it has an ETF like Bitcoin, but you have presidential candidates going to ETH companies, right? And again, I just think that going to your point earlier about why, besides monetary policy, why the dominance go higher. Fundamentally, those are the reasons, right? You're seeing this stuff happen for Bitcoin. I think it will eventually happen for other assets, but I don't think we're there yet. I think this is Bitcoin's time.
Yeah. The money's going to flow.
Yeah.
There's no reason for these people to, and they don't understand the theory.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who does. And most certainly do not know anyone that can explain it. When you explain Bitcoin, it's just so simple.
Right. Well, it's a lot easier to get people on board with Bitcoin.
God, it's in every way.
Yeah.
And I have no human error.
It's number one in the asset class since the asset class began back in 2009. It's never relinquished that number 2 spot. You cannot say the same thing about any other asset in crypto. Even the coins that were number 2 back in 2011, 2012, 2013, I should say 2013, when they really started launching some of these altcoins, they all come and go.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin is the only one that has stood the test of time and has been around and been number 1 the entire time. And Ethereum is number 2, and it's been number 2 for several years now, but it wasn't always number 2.
Yeah.
And you only have to go back to 2017 to find a time when there were other coins in its place. So I think Bitcoin has proven itself to be number 1 and to show why it's going to stay number 1. And I don't think that's going to change. Ever, really. I don't see.
Well, ever's a long time.
It's a long time.
I totally agree with you that it's the only product or activity I've ever invested in when it was first. Because I have a rule of never invest in the first game. Ever.
Yeah.
They always think about it.
Yeah.
I've actually got very engaged in politics this year. People are like, why are you doing this? And like, because I have a massive position in Bitcoin, and there's only one thing that can go wrong. And it's war. And it's sad. It's like, I am actually going to start spending some of the Bitcoin to make sure we don't go to war.
Can I ask you something about this? About slowing down stuff? So you say one reason's war, right? I can see that. Totally see that. That can slow things down.
I'm talking about a colossal war.
Right.
I think we already are war on a regular basis every day.
Yeah. I'm curious, because,
big cyber attack, nuke.
I feel like there's one thing I feel like that my generation has not really experienced. And that is
a lot of pain.
A lot of pain, yeah. A recession, a slowdown in income. I'm 34. I was born in 1990. So, .com, I was 10 years old. Financial crisis, I was 18 years old. I have not, and none of my generation has experienced it. And I'm curious, especially with, where the Fed is and yield curve, right? All that stuff. I mean, with real estate, I know that market's, transactions have really slowed down the last couple of years. Do you think that could slow Bitcoin down? Because that's the
what's that?
A slowdown in economic activity because we do something that we're not thinking about, right? And I just don't know. I mean, this is one of those things that you can't ever predict, right? You can't predict.
I think we already have to slow down negative.
Right, but still, we still have real GDP that's still printing positive, right? I think it just came out, 2.7.
And you believe these numbers?
Well,
it shouldn't believe in any.
I know I shouldn't.
The only numbers you can believe are the auditable numbers. The rest of these numbers are.
So, do you think that Bitcoin will do well, even if those numbers are negative eventually?
I think Bitcoin's gonna outperform things.
Okay, so
it doesn't mean that it couldn't get liquidated in a crisis. It would be the first to go because it is the most liquid.
But it would stand the test of time and recover.
Oh,
I agree with you. I'm just curious.
I think it's the greatest century.
Yeah.
But the only thing that does go wrong is mad mass.
Right.
See, if I have 1,000, and this is really irritating for me, some of the purists, I don't want peer-to-peer no more.
Yeah.
Okay, not interested in Satoshi's tomorrow. Because I got 1,000 Bitcoin, I don't want mad max. I would rather 50 Bitcoin. It's insanity. Like, I don't need to be a rich pig like that. Okay? I want everybody to be okay.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think we need a depression. Global reset and wake up. Because my family told me about stories in the Depression. One of them said they were unhappy. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of them discontent. No one talked about being unhappy. They were eating meals together, sleeping together, the families put together, the communities, because the problem is bigger than each other.
Yeah.
And all we're doing right now is figuring it out. Oh, you're a weirdo, dude. You're Harrison. You're pale. You vote for Democrats. How do you just criticize that?
Right.
And that's the other position I have on Bitcoin. Humanity has no way to properly value one unique entity. An unduplicable copy is you. I'm an identical twin. There is
I'm a twin.
Dude, and your guy is nowhere close to you. You're totally a different person. There's only going to be one of you, and we mistreat you. Mm-hmm. On a global scale, we do this thousands of years. We're not changing. Humans are fun.
Yeah.
They can't properly value unit, one of a kind. They like copies. And they like price. It's taken me so long to figure out. Human beings love enough. They don't like value.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I've seen people drive 5 miles to save 3 cents on a gallon of gasoline in Idaho. And then they rush home to stick the car in the garage so they don't use the fuel. Now, why would you have a car if you're worried about having, it's not going anywhere without the fuel.
Right.
It's designed to do things when you use the fuel. So for me, time, that 3 minutes for me, going to this station, is worth more than 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there. The ability I sent Trump some money the other day. It took me 2 minutes to send a Bitcoin. It would take me 30 minutes to do it. That's true. Okay, 30 minutes is a big deal. It's most certainly a big deal to him. Right? He did not have to stop any of his campaigners from calling up to get money. Right? Bitcoin money showed up. He was able to use it tomorrow morning. See, these are the kind of questions we need to ask a guy. So, would you like ACH, wire, check?
Or do you want your money right now?
On a Friday night.
Right. Yeah.
What would you like? Because you'll get the ACH on Tuesday. Dude, you will get this so quick. You'll be like, huh? Is that instant money? No one showed him that. No one showed him that. Whoa, I got all that money. In 2 minutes?
Sometimes it feels like we're in the 21st century, but using 20th century stuff for money.
And 20th century thought.
Yeah. And I think that is when does that get ushered in, though? Because do you think that this will be a turning point? I mean, Trump is going to be speaking here at the conference. Do you think this is Bitcoin's moment? People start to realize?
2 weeks ago, he shot here on Saturday. He's here. He must think this is important. So he's got Vivek here. He's got J.D. Vance here. There's 2 senators here. I think we're doing a pretty good job. Okay? I mean, I can call up Vivek right now. Mm-hmm. That bill, we got congressmen. I hired him so we could get plugged in these people. We have Congress people. Mm-hmm. Hey, Fit 21, what do you think? They are inviting us to sit at the table. They're your age.
Right.
And they want to learn. They're not frightened of it.
We're doing something right.
Totally do. But I think that to your point, the whole generation has to go through this. Okay, I got it. We got too soft.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing that could slow things down. But one of the things I think you were talking about
that could accelerate going into Bitcoin.
It could, but one of the things you were talking about earlier, I think you're right, or someone was talking about it up on the.
If it was smart, I must have said it.
No, I think it was talking about it's not going slower is not a bad thing. Right? It's not. Because
you can only digest so much food at one time.
Exactly. In terms of going to, because we were talking about where can Bitcoin go, right? 3 trillion, will it go to 10 trillion, and when's it going to happen? Is it a bad thing if it doesn't reach a certain level by next year? Not necessarily, right? Sometimes, as long as it's steady growth, it's still growth.
Took Visa, MasterCard 52 years to get everyone with a credit card in the pocket.
Yeah.
Scaling is very challenging. People do not understand that scaling. You got a bunch of IT guys going, we're taking over the planet. No, you're not, dude.
Yeah.
Not taking over the planet. Take over small pieces, digest them, perform exceptionally well, and then keep going. So to me, it's fascinating. No marketing department, no organization, no PR department, no nothing, and we're still at 1.3.
And that's why it's number one. Every other asset in crypto has a lot of that stuff that you just mentioned.
But they're trying to do anything.
But Bitcoin's number one.
And, and simple.
My thoughts with Bitcoin is that oftentimes in the short term we can overestimate it, but in the long term we all underestimate it. I've noticed that happen, and that's I think why we have these cycles. That's how about.
Dude, loved having you, Ben. Yeah. Thank you so much. Come back. Oh, where do people follow you, man? On Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter, YouTube, into Cryptoverse, YouTube, into the Cryptoverse,
into Crypto Universe,
into the Cryptoverse on YouTube.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, it's just into Cryptoverse because of the character limit.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.